An aircraft carrier may look unstoppable, yet inside its walls, life is fragile. Illness, accident, or misfortune can come quietly, even here, in the middle of endless waves. And when it does, the sea itself becomes both witness and grave. For centuries, sailors have honored their fallen not with stone, but with water. Tonight, we enter that ritual, the tradition of burial at sea, a ceremony unlike any other farewell, a moment when silence falls across the decks, when flags dip low, and the ocean opens to claim its own dignity and respect. Life aboard an aircraft carrier is a strange balance of routine and danger. For months at a time, more than 5,000 sailors live side by side, working in shifts that never end. The flight deck roars with jet engines. The hangars below are crowded with machines, tools, and the endless noise of maintenance. Every day is carefully planned, yet every moment carries risk. The carrier feels like a city at sea, but it is not safe from tragedy. A sudden fall, a fire, or even illness can change everything in seconds. Far from land, the crew cannot call for quick help. Doctors and medics do what they can, but sometimes life slips away before anyone can stop it. In those moments, the crew is reminded of the truth they often try to forget, that even on the strongest ship, human life is fragile. The ocean is vast, cold, and indifferent. Yet it has also become the final resting place for countless sailors across history. Death at sea is never taken lightly. It calls for ceremony, respect, and a tradition that reaches back through centuries of naval life. When death touches the ship, everything changes. The steady rhythm of daily tasks is broken by words no sailor ever forgets. The officer on the deck gives the call. All hands, bury the dead. The announcement travels across the carrier, through the steel hallways, into every space where sailors work and rest. For a moment, the ship itself seems to pause. If possible, the engines slow. Sometimes the carrier even stops, leaving the water calm around its massive hull. The flags that normally snap with pride in the wind are lowered to half-mast. The air grows heavier. Conversations fade. Boots echo differently on the deck. The crew gathers in silence. Some stand in lines along the railings. Others wait in formation. They know the weight of what is about to take place. The casket is prepared, draped, and ready. The chosen bearers move carefully, step by step, toward the place where the ocean will receive its own. Each detail is done with precision, not for show, but because respect demands it. Every sailor, from the highest officer to the youngest recruit, understands this is not routine. This is farewell. And in the stillness of the sea, the words linger like a final breath. Every sailor present carries a role in the farewell, even if only as a silent witness. At the center are the casket bearers. 6 to 8 men or women, chosen with care, step forward. They stand in order of height, their movements steady and practiced, though their hearts are heavy. Together, they lift the weight of a life that once moved among them. Beside them waits for the firing party. Rifles are polished, uniforms sharp. Their task is not to fight today, but to honor. When their weapons rise, they will not aim at an enemy, but at the open sky above the endless horizon. Their salute will echo across the water, carried by wind and waves. The bugler stands apart, his instrument gleaming in the light. He will play the notes that every sailor knows, notes that seem to bend time, pulling the past and present together in one moment of sound. And then there is the chaplain, voice steady, eyes lowered. His words do not erase grief, but they carry it, lifting it into prayer or remembrance. Around them, hundreds of sailors stand at attention. Each uniformed figure is part of the ritual, part of a chain that stretches back through centuries of naval service. The ceremony sailors follow today is not new. Its roots reach far back to the earliest journeys men made across the seas. In those days, there were no coffins carried on board. A fallen sailor was sewn into heavy sailcloth, the same canvas that once caught the wind and carried the ship forward. The last stitch was often through the nose, to be certain life was gone. Weighted with iron, the body was lowered over the side, and the ocean became both grave and guardian. There was no question of delay. The sea could not wait, nor could the ship. Yet even then, the crew paused. Words were spoken according to the sailors' faith. Heads were bowed, caps were removed, and silence wrapped itself around the vessel. Centuries have passed, but the shape of that ritual remains. Today, there may be a casket, flags, rifles, and a bugler's horn, yet at its heart it is the same. A group of sailors gathers to honor one of their own, to return him or her to the deep with respect. Tradition carries weight on the sea. It ties generations together. It reminds every sailor that when the time comes, the ocean will receive them with dignity. When the casket is in place and the prayers have ended, another sound rises on the deck. The rifle party steps forward, their formation straight, their rifles gleaming under the sky. At the command, they bring their weapons to the ready. The air grows tense, as though the sea itself is listening. Present arms. The barrels rise, 7 rifles point toward the horizon. Ready, aim, fire. A single volley breaks the silence, sharp and sudden. The sound echoes across the steel deck and over the open water. Then comes the second and the third. 3 bursts, spaced and solemn, each one fading into the wind before the next begins. This tradition is older than the Navy itself. It began on battlefields long ago, where guns were fired 3 times to signal that the fallen had been laid to rest, and the living were ready to continue. Today, it is not about war, but about remembrance. For those standing in silence, the shots cut deep. They are reminders of sacrifice, of lives offered in service. When the rifles lower, the stillness returns, but the sound remains in memory, carried inside every sailor who stood on deck and listened to the skies speak. After the rifles fall silent, the moment comes that no one forgets. The casket, or shrouded body, is carried to the fantail, the very edge of the ship, where steel meets water. The ocean stretches endlessly beyond, calm or restless, but always waiting. The bearers stand ready. At the signal, they tilt the platform. Slowly, the weight begins to slide. For an instant, it seems suspended, caught between ship and sea. Then, with a final motion, it slips away and disappears beneath the surface. As the body enters the water, the ship's bell tolls. Its sound is steady, low, and haunting. The crew salutes, hands to brows, eyes fixed on the waves. Some stare straight ahead, while others follow the ripples until the sea swallows them whole. There are no markers here, no carved stones, no graves to visit. Only water, depth, and memory. Yet the dignity of the act gives it permanence. The ocean becomes the keeper, holding the sailor where no one else can reach. The chaplain's voice closes the rite. The flags still hang at half-mast, the silence lingers, and the carrier carries on. But for those who stood there, the image remains. A life returned to the sea with honor. Not every sailor is laid to rest at sea. Sometimes, the family wishes for burial on land, where loved ones can gather and visit. In those cases, the ship must preserve the body until it can be transported. On a carrier, there is a place known simply as the reefer. It is a cold storage room used for supplies, but it can also hold the body of a fallen sailor. There it remains, carefully sealed and protected, until the ship can make contact with land. Depending on the mission, this might take days. In rare cases, it can take weeks. When the time comes, the body is transferred with respect. It may travel by plane or by another vessel, carried back to shore. Once returned, a funeral is arranged. On land, the ceremony shares many elements with the one at sea: prayers, a folded flag, and the salute of rifles. Yet there is also the presence of family, the comfort of a grave that can be visited, and the quiet of earth rather than waves. Both paths carry honor. Whether beneath the sea or beneath the soil, the sailor is never forgotten. The tradition remains strong on both shore and ocean. Not every burial involves a body. Some sailors choose to have their ashes returned to the ocean instead. In these cases, the remains are placed in a simple container, often made of a material that will dissolve in water. The chaplain offers words, the crew stands in silence, and the urn is lowered into the waves. As the tide carries it away, the sea accepts what was once flesh and bone. There is also another way, a more lasting gift. Sometimes ashes are mixed with concrete to form blocks that are lowered to the ocean floor. Over time, coral and fish gather there, turning death into life, grief into a reef that sustains the sea itself. Whether scattered by hand, lowered into an urn, or built into stone, the meaning is the same. The sailor returns to the waters they once crossed, their final chapter bound to the tides. The sea holds more than storms and silence. It holds the voices of those who served upon it, carried in waves that never rest. A burial at sea is not an ending, but a return. The sailor who lived by the ocean becomes part of it once more. Flags rise again, engines turn, and the ship moves forward. Yet the memory lingers in every heart that stood and watched. The ocean remembers, and so do those left behind. In that endless horizon lies both farewell and honor, a tradition that time cannot erase.